welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the 404 Show on this Friday, July 24th, 2015. My name is Jeff Baclar. Across the table from me, Mr. Russ Frushtick. How are you, sir?
Why, hello there.
What is going on?
The usual.
So you're still engaged?
Still engaged, shockingly.
All
she
right.
just got the ring resized, so for a week she wasn't wearing the ring. That was my chance to get out. Still engaged.
So I screwed that up too.
The ring resizing?
Even though I asked Stacy, and I even remember putting that like multi-ringed, sizing thing on her.
Yeah, she probably should have known at that point that you were going to propose.
Oh, believe me. She knew. She knew right away. So I thought I had the sizing correct. Turns out, nope, didn't get it correct.
Sure.
So she wore the ring on her opposite hand that was a little meatier, perhaps? Really? I don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah,
well,
my right hand is definitively meatier than my left hand.
Alex just wore it on her middle finger.
The old FU engagement ring.
Exactly. She appreciated flipping people the bird. But yeah, it got resized and it was fine. There is apparently in the heat, your fingers get stubbier as well.
That's true.
You collect more water or some stuff. But
I think it's retaining water.
All good. You, on the other hand, are actually reverting back to single life, but with an added bonus of having a small life to take care of.
Yeah, I wanted to see if I could complicate the matter in any way, shape, or form. So this is going to be my first weekend watching Dylan by my lonesome.
Completely alone.
It's just going to be me, the dog, and Dylan.
Right.
And this is a big deal for me because, well, I'll be honest, between you and all the listeners, I haven't been paying attention. This whole 3 months have gone by, and I've just been like this amazing innocent bystander.
Sure. Stacy's been like, make sure you don't scald him with the milk.
Yeah.
No, didn't happen.
I've been playing Rocket League and just not really watching what she's doing.
Sure.
So I'm understandably nervous for this coming weekend. And it's not just like the weekend. It's tonight, Saturday night, Sunday night, and maybe Monday afternoon.
Really?
Before she gets home from the thing.
So are you taking Monday off?
No, no, he's gonna go. I'm gonna bring him to daycare on Monday. It's a lot, man.
That's a lot.
We got any single parents out there? You people are saints. You are magician saints.
Yeah, that does not seem like fun.
Oh, look. I don't know if I said this before, but we're very lucky. He's turned out to be a relatively low maintenance baby.
But it sounds like Stacy has taken the brunt of the unfortunate moments that you've had with him so far, whether it's covered in poop.
Yeah,
or...
I'm kidding around. I've been paying attention. I've been.
Is there going to be duct tape when you try to put a diaper on him?
Maybe. No, dude, I'm the diaper master. If there's one thing that I've been held responsible for, it's the constant changing.
Diaper master. I think that's like a fetish that people are into.
Yeah, I'm all up in that. I'm up to my elbows in that. She didn't change a diaper for the first 3 weeks of his life.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you did have that down.
Yeah. So that's the least of my problems.
And you've got the breastfeeding down.
Yeah. It's weird. It takes a while, but he latches on. Sure. It's odd. It's like that scene in Family Guy.
Yeah, he takes the hair out.
But no, it's going to be a good time. I'm just saying. I have no proof that it will be.
Yeah, I would be super stressed. But you've been stressed. You were stressed about the baby's arrival. So this is just a next layer, a new level of stress that you're feeling. Because I'm
not that nervous.
What would it take for you to call a parental figure and be like, save me from this?
Oh my God, it would have to be catastrophic.
Really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. Because it would basically say that you are a child and cannot take care of another child.
It would get to that point where, and I can't see it getting there.
Sure. You know the dog in Peter Pan? Nana, I believe the dog's name is?
Maybe.
They leave the dog to babysit. And that's why the kids get kidnapped by Peter Pan, is because the dog is out there barking.
And that's it.
And they put a hat on the dog, and that's it. So worst comes to worst, if you have to go out and get a pizza.
Yeah.
Just leave Marty there.
So
it's fine.
So here's where I probably said something out loud to Stacy that made her nervous.
Oh no.
Where I said to her, I was like, all right, well, in the morning, if he's not up yet, I could walk Marty, right? And just leave him by himself, right?
Right.
And she's like, no. And I was like, well, why? But you can't. You just can't do that.
Why?
You can leave the room.
Sure.
And like maybe
If he's in the crib, let's say there's a crib, I guess.
Yeah, we got one of those.
If he's in the crib and let's say it's like 6 a.m. and he's sleeping, he cries for 10 minutes. What's the big deal? Am I going to get arrested?
So I think that's only cool at night when he's like entering his slumber instead of waking up from it.
What happens if you don't?
Between you and me,
yeah,
I'm sure he'd be fine.
Okay. I feel like you just develop like tendencies where it's like, oh, I cry, then people are going to come and fix my problem.
Yeah, and you get used to that.
And that's
response.
like the first child syndrome.
Well, so here's the deal. At night, Marty pees 15 seconds, comes back in.
Sure.
So that's what I'll do because I have no choice really in the matter aside from like packing.
So you're gonna leave your child, your single boy, alone while your dog pees outside
for literally 45 seconds.
Okay,
which I will leave him in his room for way longer periods of time when I'm in the living room and he's inside.
What happens when you're taking a shower?
Yeah, right. Like a shower's longer
than a walk.
Yeah, but at least I'm like close enough to him.
Okay, where you could like run out.
Yeah, just be like, oh, what was that?
But then he'd be scarred by your naked body.
Believe me, he's already been traumatized by some of the things I've been doing in front of him. Okay?
Oh, Maron.
Yeah, it's not that bad. But anyway, I will take this as a good luck, Jeff. Well wishes to your weekend of doom.
Yeah, I have no real insight whatsoever. The closest I've come is to taking my 1-year-old niece on a train, which was moderately traumatic. But, good luck. I
think my brother's going to come by on Sunday.
Sure.
We'll go out to lunch. Okay. I guess I got to bring the kid to that.
Yeah, you got to like fill the weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to do stuff. Tomorrow morning, he slept like 11 hours last night. So I'm hoping he does something similar where like tonight he sleeps forever and I'll wake up fresh and rested.
Yeah.
And me, him, and Marty will go out to the park. Mm-hmm. Maybe I take the wedding ring off.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe get
those babies, man, and dogs.
Maybe I got a cute baby. I got a cute dog and even
just look like
baby.
Really forlorn.
Yeah. Maybe put on some CK1.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, my God. They'll come running.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe do my hair. Dress nice.
And then take her out to a movie with the baby, like an R-rated movie at like 10 p.m.
I'm just saying.
I think there's a lot of good things you can do.
I think all the stars and planets are lining up for something special.
Age of Aquarius.
I think it's Kepler 452b. Right in line with Mars.
Indeed.
It's going to be a good one.
Cool. Well,
wish me luck.
Best of luck, sir.
If you see me in town, just say hi and offer a comforting hand.
I will.
Okay, a lot of interesting developments in the world this week. Man, crazy stuff that you don't really think about, but then when it happens, you're like, oh, of
Makes
course,
perfect sense.
Of course, this is going to be a problem.
I think the last year or so have been, whenever anyone asks me about self-driving cars, I'm like, it's great. You don't have people driving drunk. You can go wild. You could like chill out, do a crossword, whatever. I think, self-driving cars are the future. I still think that.
They 100% are.
100% are. It's definitely going to, 20 years from now, I think we're going to have all self-driving cars and like regular cars will be like driving go-karts. People like get a thrill from it, but it's not going to be the way you get around. That said, there was this great article on Wired this past week about a Jeep. One of their reporters drove a Jeep and the Jeep was hijacked by a pair of hackers using a very intricate the way they got into the system through the radio and essentially were able to take control of the entire Jeep. Now
this was planned.
This was prepared. They weren't brand of hackers. Because that would be really awesome.
So, okay, can I...
Wired, write about this story.
So I will say this. A news outlet that will remain nameless,
okay,
obviously not CBS,
sure,
reached out to me about this story.
Okay.
And the producer was basically, because like every now and then I help this person write questions for their talent, because so I consult a little bit.
Okay.
They thought they had not read this.
Clearly.
They thought that the call, like they did this to a random person.
Sure.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? But that's where the fear emanates
Sure.
from.
And that's the argument, is that you could theoretically do this to a random person. It would require a little bit of work, but you could theoretically do this to a random person.
So can you explain how they got in?
Not really, because
Okay.
I'm not a scientist.
'Cause I'm not a hacker
But
scientist.
as I understand it, they essentially went through a loophole that has to do with the radio entertainment system.
Right.
Which
you need a
obviously,
certain brand of that,
right.
too.
And it connects through the cloud. You log into something or other. So if you got someone's password, they get in through that. And from there, they start by like jamming up the volume all the way.
Yeah.
And like making all sorts of crazy, like, changing the radio station and stuff like that. And that's very distracting. And eventually they basically use all sorts of extra add-on loopholes to shut the entire car down. Like literally he's on the highway and the car rolls to a stop.
That's
Terrifying.
crazy.
Is that crazy? They even said you could take control of the steering. Right now, only when people are going in reverse can you take control of the steering.
So is that, you think that's like,
I think it's probably tied to the auto parking mechanism, would be my guess.
and it's just an exploit they found?
Right. But like, you could legitimately do serious harm to someone if you wanted to.
Right. So
I mean, it would require a level of like James Bond dedication to like dig into this person and really make their life. There are easier ways to screw over someone.
totally.
But it was enough for them to do a recall on the cars.
Right, because there is a vulnerability. Now, the thing that freaks me out a little bit is when you think of the technology inside of cars, like for the most part, I consider all that like in the same category as like ATM software and the same category as like, kiosks and like really primitive shit.
Sure.
Like, I'm sorry, some cars like Tesla aside,
Yeah.
What else? I've heard Mercedes has a very sophisticated computer system inside their cars.
Sure.
They're getting better.
And Microsoft had their whole like sync.
Right, but
thing.
people, from what I understand, hated that.
Right. It was not well received.
I've been in a Lincoln that had sync in
Sure.
it, and it was dog shit. Like
A
I did
Sync-in.
not. Yeah, I was not happy with
Yeah.
that. Nevertheless, these are not like the bastion of like high tech, infrastructure.
Sure. And that might be part of the problem.
It
It's
is,
like
and that's what I'm saying.
Right. It's so simple. I mean, granted, as you said, like especially with Tesla and stuff like that, they are getting more complex, but still, you're not playing whatever Doom 4 on these things. Like they're very basic.
Right, and because of their basic
They're
fundamental
probably as
design,
powerful as like a phone, like a mobile phone.
I think less. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say less for most cars.
Okay.
With that comes a less sophisticated security system
Sure.
and sort of protection.
Yeah.
And that's what freaks me out, where like you have the vast majority of cars on the road with these vulnerable sort of systems in place. Yes, it is not like, throwing a rock at a pond and just like, I can just, nail anyone I want.
Right.
It is way tougher to single someone out. These guys had to create this sophisticated, choreographed situation where they could hack the Jeep and take it over.
Yeah.
But it's still something to think about.
Sure.
That might be a problem.
Yeah, I could definitely say. And again, like if you have self-driving cars, the cars obviously have to connect to a GPS through the cloud, etc. And the second you're connecting to the web in some way, there's going to be exploits.
Which just freaks me out.
Yeah. Man, you could like force everyone to drive to one spot and like have a killer concert. Just have like a rager.
Lock the doors and like, you're coming to my house now. Man, that's creepy.
There was actually, did you watch that episode of, what is it, Silicon Valley?
Yes.
He gets stuck in the self-driving car and it drives to like an island.
Did you know it drives to like a seaport?
A seaport, but the boat takes him to like a private island. That could happen, man. This is the world we're living in.
This is the picture.
We are paying the price.
This scenario is painting.
Yep.
Okay? Deal with it. The future is about to knock you on your ass.
Yep.
But as much as this is, so obviously this is a big sort of, scoop / feature for Wired. It's being turned into this fear-mongering story.
Sure.
Where like, everyone who's covering this from a mainstream sort of casual technologist point of view is like, oh my God,
This could happen to me.
time to like, drive, time to ride a bike.
Right.
Because that's the one thing they're not going to be able to hack.
And that's the funny thing about this story is like, there are stories of like, oh, some hackers tried to get into NORAD or something like that. And those stories do not get the same attention as like a Jeep
A
shutting
controlled
down.
experiment. Yeah.
I'd be much more worried about like someone getting into the nuke codes and starting some trouble.
But okay, so
But
let's.
this is more grounded. Like
It's more grounded. It's more practical for
Sure.
a regular, John Doe.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing: do you think we'll ever get to the point where we just won't be able to protect cars, and like they'll need to sort of be, air gapped away from the internet?
yes,
You do.
I think every computer, given enough time, can be effectively cracked. Given enough
If
time
it's
and
connected
effort.
to
If it's connected to a
the
network,
internet.
sure.
so
That's why George R. R. Martin types on a air gapped computer.
right, because he doesn't want the zombie blood
Exactly.
leaking in. Now, do you think this is gonna? Now, so how does this play in with driverless cars?
Watch out. Look, obviously there's going to be
watch out.
there's going to be a lot of security. I think there are probably ways to air gap, probably not like the entertainment system because that's going to be a big internet driven thing.
Yeah.
But they'll probably get to a point. I don't know, man.
Like there's to me there's gotta be a way.
Maybe it connects to your I don't know.
But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
there's
to
gotta
have
be a
this
way to
like
separate
dual
it.
system thing set up where like the engine, like how is it that the design of this Jeep
Yeah.
has it so that the car can be taken over?
Sure.
Like how is there not a physical gap in the circuitry?
And there needs to be some sort of kill switch, which obviously a lot of these self-driving cars will have the option to like take control yourself. That needs to, but like a lot of these Jeeps are not putting that functionality in because who would ever think that they would get hijacked? So there would need to be an element of like, oh, something weird is going on, diagnostics going off saying, oh, I'm not doing what I should do, in the way that like if my credit card gets stolen, the bank knows automatically because someone just bought
right.
50 Nikes. There needs to be, the car needs to know, oh, something weird's going on. I'm going to not let the cloud control what I'm doing. But who knows? Like, again, this technology is so new that 5-10 years from now, I think driving cars is going to be vastly different than it is today. So it's hard to say like what's going to be controlled by the cloud and who. I just want to like kick back and like play some Game Boy
And just let the car do it.
Just let the car do its go over jumps. I don't care.
Yeah.
Go mudding.
Right. Yeah. See, we talked about this like a month ago,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like I don't think we're prepared for like there will be a little bit of like culture shock trauma when we move to a driverless.
It's like horse to car.
Yeah, but
like,
what I'm
obviously
saying
that
is like
happened.
okay, the one example I've been using a lot in conversation.
Mm.
This is always like what my bar conversations devolve to.
Sure.
Where it's like there will be the first death by robotic car.
Yeah, right.
That the car made the choice to like sacrifice its the car made the
Okay.
choice to sacrifice its passenger because it saw that a bus of school kids
Sure.
was ahead, and like if he didn't vert out, you would have
Sure.
19 dead kindergartners.
Right. And chances are it would be the other way around, which is to say, chances are the car is programmed to prioritize the safety of its driver over all else.
And then like do you have a guy who like hacks that and says like, oh, I'm like a juggernaut car.
And now, yeah, you could
Like,
have like a
that's
murder, like a computerized
Yeah.
murder car,
Right.
like in Duel, where essentially it has no feeling or emotion. It's just driving around, just demolishing people, and the guy's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just programmed it." Yeah, well, that's a drag.
So that is super. So like, that's
Yeah, the first
upsetting.
time that happens, it's going to be a problem.
But like, think about it. Think about like a futuristic like tale where you have like, these guys figured out how to hack the cars, and they're the only ones really driving cars,
Right.
and everyone else is like stuck on the mag rail.
Yeah,
Like that's
that's sort of like a Road Warrior.
it's like a
type
Mad
situation.
Max
Yeah,
4.
yeah. Hack the presidential motorcade.
Yeah, right.
Oh man,
those always
we were
be,
writing this movie.
Those will always be human operated.
yes,
President never lets a robot drive him.
unless it's a robot president. Could happen
It's like Futurama.
in our lifetime.
That's creepy stuff, kids. Suck on that this weekend. Speaking of cars that practically drive themselves, Uber. I don't know if you've been taking note, and I know people are like, "Oh, Uber is such a New York only situation."
It really isn't.
It is not. Uber is everywhere.
If anything, I would say Uber, for me at least, has impacted Los Angeles way more than I've ever used it in New York. Because every time I go to LA, I'm usually staying downtown for E3, and I can never get a cab. but Uber is literally everywhere. It costs $15 to take an Uber from downtown to the airport if you use Uber Share. It's super crazy cheap, and it's totally like changed the way I travel. It's a shame that the company is run by moderate scumbags, but
Sure, no one's going to really argue with that. Like, people seem to not like those guys.
But their technology seems to be pretty on point. But it has obviously created a lot of strife with all these different governments, New York City included.
And that's the one that's like that's the super hot issue right now is Uber and New York City. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but Uber was on the defense. With New York was sort of going after Uber. Specifically, the mayor de Blasio was basically proposing a 1% cap growth on Uber expansion in the city. Now, if you don't know why that would be an issue, so there's about 13,000 yellow cabs in the city, and now there's approaching 18 to 20,000 Uber drivers in Manhattan. So there's more Uber cars in Manhattan than there are cabs, and proponents of the taxi cab industry say this is causing great deals of traffic, and the average speed in New York City for a car has slowed down by a mile an hour over the last year. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here. There's a lot going on. But on Wednesday, the city of New York decided to pull out on its campaign to cap Uber growth in Manhattan. And I'm just like, I kind of understood where New York City was coming from, because they do, I guess, have the right to do that, right? The city is hindsight's 2020. The city does feel more traffic than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Is that Uber's fault? You can't really point fingers.
I mean, I'm sure it's an impact. You have all these people that couldn't make money before can now just get an Uber license.
I mean, it got to the point regionally, locally here in New York where they were running propaganda ads. There was stuff on TV that Uber was paying for. Got pretty
well, because it's
slimy.
So much money for them.
Totally, it's the biggest market,
right? If they get booted out of New York City, which wasn't them talking about getting booted, but it's just so much money for them, and obviously New York City doesn't. I mean, part of it is New York City doesn't want to lose that income, and the other part is traffic congestion is a serious problem, and cities like London have imposed crazy strict traffic limitations that'll probably have to come to New York eventually.
Yeah, so something is going to have to bend or break.
Yeah.
So the way it's shaken out right now, and we'll move on after this, the way it's shaken out right now is that the mayor and Uber did strike a deal. They're going to take 4 months and sort of study with a lot of data transparency between the city and Uber, because apparently that was a closed off situation where the city just did not have access to the amazing amounts of functional data that Uber generates just by operating as a service. They're going to work with the Department of Transportation, sort of figure out just what the hell is happening now that Uber is such an unbreakable, pervasive force in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And they'll reassess that after 4 months. There's no cap. So Uber can add 30,000 cars tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah,
but this is very interesting.
It is very interesting. I don't know. Here's what I'm going to say is if you're visiting New York City, take the subway. It's really nice and easy to get around.
Well, it's not nice, but
it's pretty
easy.
nice.
When you say nice, do you mean
nicer than a puddle of crap?
All right. That's saying a lot.
No, it's safe is what I would say.
Yes.
So long as you're using it in normal hours.
Right.
Not at 2 a.m. in a really bad neighborhood, maybe not the most safe thing, but it's pretty safe. If you're going from Midtown to Soho, take a subway. It'll take way less time and, give a little back to the people.
And I'll give you this free advice as well. If you're traveling only within the island of Manhattan, a cab's probably still going to be cheaper
than
an Uber.
Yeah, you're probably right because of the surcharge.
It may not be as pleasurable of an experience.
It also surges pretty regularly in Manhattan.
Yes. So beware if you're visiting our great city.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got a story about doping in eSports.
My God.
This is a thing now.
It is.
Plus, you're not going to believe some of these reviews of the movie Pixels that have been coming out. Let's just say people are opinionated
They are. They
About
have
this-
opinions.
about this new Adam Sandler video game nostalgia flick. More 404 right after this. Big shout out to our new sponsor this week, Backblaze. Backblaze is an online backup solution for your documents, music, photos, videos, any user data you can think of. Go to backblaze.com/404show to get a no-risk, free 2-week trial. Users of Backblaze have already backed up 150 petabytes of data.
That's a lot. That's a lot of
I
pets.
never even heard of that.
That's like a super megabyte.
It's a super megabyte. Backing up your data is easy, and Backblaze has restored over 10 billion files.
Whoa.
That's impressive.
Impressive.
Online access to your files is easy, and you can do that from anywhere that you have an internet connection, anywhere in the world. There's also apps for your iPhone and your Android, and you can restore one or every single file you've backed up with their easy-to-use web restore interface. You can even use a USB hard drive, and that's available for larger restores. And don't worry, no matter what platform you're using, because Backblaze runs natively on Mac and PC. There's nothing else you got to worry about. No add-ons, no gimmicks, no additional charges. Just $5 a month per computer for unlimited, unthrottled backup. All right? Invest in backing up. It's something you're not going to regret. Go to backblaze.com/404show and start your free trial right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 404 show. So let's talk about doping in eSports.
Okay.
You're going to laugh. You're going to be like, well, obviously this is an issue in, how would you differentiate eSports and sports?
Well, one doesn't involve a computer in any way.
Right. You're not sitting the
Sure.
whole time.
Esports is video games.
Right.
You're playing video game sports. We're talking League of Legends, Counter-Strike, this ilk.
There was a big Street Fighter competition over the weekend in
That
Las Vegas. The Evo tournament.
Yeah. So the esports are a big deal.
Big deal. A lot of money.
Big deal. There was a $250,000 tournament recently in Poland, and there is this issue. There has been this issue that one of the teams at this tournament, it was for Counter-Strike, admitted that they were using Adderall, which is a methamphetamine, I believe.
Don't you take it?
I think it's maybe just an amphetamine. I think it's a methamphetamine. I do take it. Yes, I do take it.
So
I don't
why
know
do
what it's
you
literally
take it?
called. So I have been diagnosed for ADD, not
Yeah?
ADHD, but
I don't think I knew that.
you know the difference between the two? Can I have a little class right now?
Is one like adult?
No. So ADHD is hyperactive. That's the H.
Oh, that's the
and
H. Sorry,
ADD is
okay.
just straight up. So ADD, for me at least, sort of surfaced when I was in middle school, high school, where I would literally just like be in the middle of class and like fall asleep or like tap on the desk and just like constantly distracted, not really paying attention, ignoring schoolwork, etc.
Oh, you mean like everyone?
Like literally everyone.
you mean like
The difference
average...
is I'm medicated and fix the problem.
So wait, but yeah, I'm not going to get into like that whole misdiagnosing debate.
There's drama too. I mean, whatever. I went to a doctor.
Yeah.
I took a test. Like they literally tested me with like a bunch of questions.
And you didn't finish, and then they're like,
And
oh,
I
yeah,
literally, I'm not even joking, literally fell asleep during the test.
Oh, so you were straight up falling asleep.
I mean, it wasn't like narcolepsy, but I was like, well, this is a lot to take in and I can't really, so I just, it was like a 3-hour test and I fell asleep during the middle of it.
Huh.
So that was a pretty conclusive.
And what year was that you were
This
diagnosed?
was like 97 or 8, maybe.
Okay. So fair.
So I've been taking it for a while.
So you've been taking Adderall for 18 years.
Yes. So I don't take it on weekends, or when I'm like not doing work. But if it's a work day, like I took it this morning, not a huge amount. I take 10 milligrams.
Do you notice a difference?
There's a huge
Still.
difference. I do sort of I don't drink coffee, and I do sort of wonder, like, if I just drank coffee every morning, whether
like,
I'd do the same thing.
Tomorrow morning,
Sure.
on your non-Adderall day,
Yeah.
have a coffee.
I don't like coffee.
You're gonna learn to love it.
No, I love Adderall. No,
You just filter Adderall through hot water.
What's good is that like I don't really. It is potentially very addictive. I don't have an urge to take it when I'm not taking it, but it is obviously a very dangerous drug. it is an amphetamine, which is very illegal if you don't have a prescription, and in large amounts. A lot of people, you'll go to jail, et cetera, et cetera. They've been using these, college kids especially, have been using these for like study, like, oh, my test is tomorrow, I'm going to study all night. I definitely feel more, it's weird, I feel much more productive after I take it.
It helps you focus.
It helps focus. A lot of people say that they clean their entire apartment on Adderall.
Okay. Is it like speed?
It is, well, yeah, and so far it's amphetamine, so it's an upper.
Yeah.
It was originally created for diet loss, like as a diet pill.
Oh, weight loss.
Weight loss.
Yeah.
Thank you. Diet loss. Anyway, that's sort of a long, circuitous story, which is to say, I'm familiar with the drug, and it's interesting here because the team was using it
now, were
to
they
play Counter-Strike.
So they were using it for the sole purpose of concentration in Counter-Strike.
Presumably. That's sort of the question, is like, okay, arguably, if everyone on the team has a prescription, I don't even know how prescriptions work in like Poland and Europe. Maybe it's a different system. But if everyone had a prescription, can you make that illegal? Now, obviously, in sports like bicycling, they had to make some drugs illegal because they were a huge advantage, and they were essentially testosterone and human growth hormone stimulant, whatever.
There's plenty of sports where all that stuff's not cool.
But some of these drugs are potentially legal for people that have prescriptions. So where do you draw the line?
Right.
And what counts as an advantage? If there are people that like cannot, I can obviously function without Adderall. There are people that literally cannot like function, like can't get up and do stuff in the day, which is obviously sad. But like, if one of those people was competing in this tournament, how do you draw that line?
Yeah, how do you say, I realize you need this to be regular,
right?
But your regular is enhanced.
Yeah, well, and that's the question: is it enhanced? So I don't think they've really done studies on how much of an improvement someone that has taken Adderall would be at a video game, and I think that's the issue. They haven't actually announced a policy for this or anything like that. They've said they're working on a policy. The group that runs the tournament, this ESL, Electronic Sports League, is working on a policy to solve the problem. But without real data to say, I took Adderall and I was 30% better at this game, or even 5% better, it's very difficult to enforce.
Especially if you have those prescriptions.
Especially if you have the prescription. Mm-hmm. But it's also $250,000, and if anyone feels like they have an advantage, what do you do about that?
And then do we get into the prescription Dr. Nick people?
Right.
It's like, you want the prescription?
Right.
No problem.
Right. So the easy solution would just be to ban it, but then,
then you're discounting people who need it, who want to play.
Right. And what other drugs could you, like, if someone took Excedrin in the morning, is that off?
There's not going to be an easy solution to this.
So it is interesting though. Like, it never really occurred to me. I've heard that people who have ADD actually, I wouldn't say better, but definitely more inclined for video games because there's so much stimulation that like you're constantly being bombarded by things.
Yeah.
Like when I play Borderlands, there's like 10,000 guns flying at me, and I love comparing all the stats and all that stuff. And you would think that would require a lot of focus, but it's so diffused over so many different things that it almost works for my brain better.
It almost plays into like, are we like going to discover like, oh my God, video games really just help people with these conditions?
Well, I don't know if they help, but they certainly,
or they play into that.
Right. Arguably, if you could make a lesson plan that used video games as sort of a baseline, like, oh, let's use these tactics that they use in these games to teach actual things, which have actually started happening, you might see a lot more success that way. So it's pretty cool.
It's cool, but it's tough, man.
It's really tough. It's very difficult to study. And, I think we're going to see a lot of advancement with this stuff in the coming years as like video games, like people enter Congress that play video games a lot. Like there are not very many people that do that right now. Maybe they play Snake on their flip phone. But as people, enter public service and government, I think we're going to start seeing more of this stuff coming into play and being like, oh, let's use some of these tactics that people who design video games to teach kids other things.
I'm waiting for the first presidential candidate who has like a recognizable handle. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, is that Notorious?
Yeah.
Oh man, I used to know him playing Rocket League.
No, but you got to imagine it's going to be a few years from now, so it's going to be like XX underscore notorious
Yeah.
with a 1.
Right, because that generation will be the first to get the call.
We are holding on to these usernames for all time. I'm going to pass my username down through the ages.
Isn't that wacky?
It's weird.
It's a very weird time. Someone was trying to argue with me that the generation after us, which is I guess people born in the 90s,
Sure.
have seen more. And I would argue that
What does that mean, seen more?
Well, we'll see more. But I think they're
More what?
more of a that was completely out of context. We'll see more of a change in humanity.
Oh.
So here's what I argue. I argue that the fact that we lived on both sides of that digital divide,
Sure.
where it was way more of our life has been spent on the internet than
Sure.
not, but we
saw that
old
transition.
enough, and we're old enough to remember.
Yeah.
Like I remember using rotary phones.
Yeah.
I remember using shit like that. Like I remember legitimately playing in television. Like
Sure.
this is what we have.
Yeah.
So I
had to go to a library to study.
Of course.
And like do a book report or whatever. Yeah. I can't imagine. It's possible that it'll happen.
Of course,
whatever. In 50 years, there's going to be the equivalent of the internet. There's no way for me to fathom
Of course,
something that huge and that impactful in the entire world.
Right.
I don't know what that would be.
So instead of
Short of like aliens landing.
exactly, instead of debating who has the more impressive generation,
Ours.
right? Just because we're biased, but
Yes.
I think it's cool that we are one of the only ones that can say that we sort of saw both sides of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think about that a lot.
We're like, my
It's pretty
kid's
cool.
not going to have any idea of what it was like to send the fax.
No, they're just going to know. Oh, I've never used the iPad 8, but I've used the iPad 9.
Exactly. And that old iPad sucks,
Yeah,
right?
terrible.
That's all
The worst.
there's going to be. Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy stuff. Okay, speaking of nostalgia, we've talked about this movie for a little bit. We talked about Pixels, the new Adam Sandler film that comes out today.
Yeah.
The idea of the movie is that back in the day when we sort of sent out a SETI, time
Probe.
capsule, a probe, we put in some 70s and 80s gaming, sort of.
And probably like a Bee Gees album, but like there was like arcade games.
We like threw Donkey Kong and
he's
Pac-Man in there. An alien race discovers this probe, sees it as an act of war, and believes that they must emulate that to take us on.
Yeah, emulate. Good use of the word emulate.
Thank you.
It's also funny because it's emulating the literal plot of a Futurama episode directly. Like it's literally the same plot.
Directly. So aside from how you feel about that plot,
Sure.
the movie has been open to reviewers for a few days.
Yeah.
And my oh my.
Yeah, it's not pretty. People don't seem very fond of it. It's actually, I checked it a couple days ago on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was at 0%.
Which is
15%. There was 15 reviews, and it was at 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is up to 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is actually higher than I was expecting. But the universal agreed upon claim is that the movie is a steaming pile of horse shit.
I've heard some amazing. Someone said it was an unmitigated, god awful piece of dog shit.
Yeah.
Is what one reviewer said.
Yeah. My favorite critical quote that I've ever heard for anything was of a Styx album where it was called "A Parking Lot Full of Whale Vomit." But some of the reviews for Pixels have come close to that.
So there's this guy. He calls himself Movie Bob, and he's a ranter.
Yeah. He gets off.
Not unlike Zero Punctuation.
Yeah. Probably not as, he doesn't quite sound as staid and calm as Zero Punctuation does.
Yeah. Well, Zero Punctuation, he's Australian.
Or British, maybe?
British, Australian. He has a sense of class,
decorum. Sure.
To his delivery.
Movie Bob is much more direct.
Movie Bob doesn't really hold anything back.
No.
And, maybe I'm not in love with his delivery, and I'm not in love with like some of the adjectives and the colorful language he uses in which to describe this movie. But for what it's worth, he does back up every tirade with logically laid out reasons and evidence as to how truly god awful this film is.
Yeah. He released this video. It's definitely worth searching out. We'll post a link in the post, but essentially going point by point on all the things that they screwed up in the movie. A lot of it is like plot and logic based, where like certain things act one way, where Pac-Man's evil in one scene and good in another scene. It's sad because I like video games, and whenever anything video game related is announced for the film community, it's almost always really, really garbage. And this is just another iteration of that. And it makes me sad because there was probably someone somewhere in the production of this movie that really, in his heart of hearts, loves video games and loves how they made him feel in the 80s. I really believe somewhere. It wasn't Chris Columbus, who's like 93 right now.
Yeah.
And it probably wasn't Adam Sandler, but somewhere, maybe a PA was like playing Clash of Clans on his phone and was like, yeah, I hope this movie's good. And it is just terrible, and it's embarrassing. And Peter Dinklage, I hope that boat is nice, Peter.
Yeah,
because
right.
there's really no other explanation for it.
Yeah, some payment was due, I'm sure. This movie is making people furious.
Yeah.
This guy, Movie Bob, described it saying, this film will make you hate the things you love. And to me, that is like the worst type of criticism you could give something.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, we've talked shit on this movie for a while just because of the absurd premise to the whole thing. I mean, is this really that surprising?
No.
Can we just maybe like let things like this happen?
No.
We can't?
Here's the issue, is that the people that comment on the internet, people that have Twitter accounts, people that have YouTube, a lot of them are like tech savvy people, and a lot of them are gamers. So this stuff not only can't pass, it can't pass without anyone commenting on it, because it's all like directly attacking the things that they love.
Right. It is a form of blasphemy.
Yes.
And I get that, but it's like you can also go a little overkill on berating a film too. I'm not defending anyone involved in this film. They need to be held accountable.
You're right. In watching his video, like there is a lot in that video that's like he's obsessing about like, wait, but why did a certain character do this at this given moment?
Sure.
And at 10 minutes in, you got to realize no logic is being pushed to any of this. And
Sure.
I'm not excusing that, but you sort of just need to be like, oh, this is garbage, and move on. Like, you don't need to dissect every horrible piece of crap,
right?
Unless that's your job, which apparently Movie Bob's job is to do this. So
and he's not the only culprit. Like, there's plenty of guys
Sure.
doing the same exact thing that
Yeah.
Guys, girls, across the board, doesn't matter. People universally, are all up on this.
Yeah.
And
I just hope it tanks. Like, please, just tank.
And that's like the only thing you can really hope for, right?
Yeah.
And people who like go on, what drives me a little crazy too is like some of like Hollywood people getting on Twitter and being like, "Shame on you." A lot of people made this movie and worked on it.
A lot of people make a lot of movies, and I don't want them to lose their jobs.
Right, and they didn't. They got paid.
Right. And no one's not going to hire you worked on Pixels? I'm not going to hire you as my gaffer. Like, come on.
Exactly.
They're going to be fine.
Yeah. And you know what? If freaking Adam Sandler isn't fine after this, well, guess what? He freaking deserved it. And he can take that hit.
Right.
Okay.
I'd be fine with that if Adam Sandler doesn't make any more movies. I'd really be okay with that.
I just cannot stand this like sense of like, oh, we're Hollywood. We can't be criticized.
Yeah.
Like, you're all buddy. Shut up. Yeah. No. This movie apparently is terrible.
Grandma's Boy, not the worst video game movie. If we're going to talk about Adam Sandler,
look,
like he was involved in that.
That is a huge guilty pleasure of mine.
It's a guilty pleasure, and it like does a lot of things with some level of respect. Some of it's jokey and stupid, but like does sort of treat the video game industry with some level of knowledge. So if you do want an Adam Sandler hit, I don't know if he's actually in the movie, but he definitely produced it.
But it's a Happy Medicine joint. Yeah,
it's like video game adjacent and not totally embarrassing.
The funny thing about Grandma's Boy is that it came out when like Xbox 360 was coming out, but everything in the movie was like very, very dated.
Yeah. Well, the game that they used in the movie actually got canceled.
It was?
It was an actual game. It was called whatever they called it. Something with a D.
Eternal Death Slayer.
No, it was something with a D. It was an actual name.
Yeah.
And it was an actual game that was going to come out, I think THQ or something, and it got canceled.
Wow.
So that is the only footage of that game is in Grandma's Boy.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Oh, just I guess all we can say is we're not surprised.
No, not in the least.
Oh, man.
Sad days.
All right, but let's maybe get a little more positive
Okay.
on
Stay posy.
on the potential of new movie franchises. Well, not new movie franchises, but playing off an 80s nostalgia
Sure.
that really worked and maybe not exploiting it.
Okay.
And I'm starting to turn the corner on the new Ghostbusters.
I don't know why you haven't been around this corner for a while. I was
never a hater. I was never, and I will.
The only time that I was a hater was when like Aykroyd was going to make it, and it was like
the demon,
he's a ghost, and like it sounded terrible.
Yeah. So if you don't know, there was like this very strange and brief period in time where Ghostbusters 3 was in quote unquote pre-production. And it was about them going to hell, right? That was a part of it too. Something
half of them died or something. Bill Murray was a ghost or something like that.
Crazy.
And they went to hell and they fought demons, and it sounded just awful.
And then obviously when everyone heard that, oh my God, they were going to reboot Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it's like Beetlejuice going to Hawaii. That was originally the Beetlejuice. Like it's the equivalent of that.
Right. Which I think everyone would have a problem with. But now that we, have seen a lot of the production stills from the movie.
Yeah.
And the detail and like the homage that they're paying to the original.
Yeah, it's not.
And we're not even going to get into like the female versus male thing because that whole thing.
Well, but we can talk about it.
You can, but like it pissed me off that people were just like, no,
people are idiots.
You can't do that.
People are idiots. First of all, here's the thing: Paul Feig, who's the director of this movie, directed Bridesmaids, very funny movie starring a lot of women. And
everyone says Spy is amazing.
Spy is supposed to be amazing. Even all the ads made it look like Paul Blart.
Yeah.
Like with a spy.
Right.
No, so he's very talented and very funny. And tonally, it looks like, as you said, in all the production stills, there's like this frumpiness to the movie that seems very honest to Ghostbusters, which is to say, like, none of them really want to be there except for maybe one of them.
Right. None of them are gung-ho.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all just sort of like mechanics that happen to be like in the neighborhood. And I don't know. I have really high hopes. And I think if they like stay true to the at its core, it's not an adventure movie. It's a comedy. It needs to be 100% a comedy. And Paul Feig has shown that he can do that.
And the best
I'm
part,
pretty excited.
And the best part is that now that you've seen like what the proton pack looks like, it's like I saw that thing and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was like,
it took that.
No, like
what was it about the proton pack? Was it the height of it, the thickness?
No, it was just like the sort of like DIY-ness of it all, where like it wasn't this molded sort of.
And their the jumpsuits that they wear are just like frumpy, like
they're
bulky
like they're poorly
jumpsuits.
fitting.
Yeah,
like, I'm like, you know what? Like, I think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna be able to. The Ecto 1 is a hearse.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna do it.
They seem to really be on the right track.
And and this is why I believe this movie is gonna work. It's being made by people who love Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and very funny people too.
And very funny people.
Yeah. Kristen Wiig is very, very funny. So
and I understand like the initial knee-jerk reaction from a lot of people, specifically male people in their 20s and 30s who have these these white men's activists.
My life is so hard. I'm white and male. The worst.
People like losing their minds that it was going to be all female. And like, to me, that was like, oh no, I'm not upset it's all female. That's fine.
Right.
Like you do whatever you want. It was more just like, oh no, you're just like touching a childhood memory of mine.
Yeah, you're making Indiana Jones 4, which was a calamity.
Totally.
So we didn't want that. But the fact that they, seem to be very true to it, and they have the right cast, and they're not like if they brought in a Chris Columbus, it'd be a disaster.
Right.
But they brought in a comedy director,
and isn't Aykroyd executive
I think
producer?
he might be involved in it, which doesn't
He's
really
in it too.
encourage
He's
me.
in it.
Actually, a brief side note: apparently, in Pixels, there's a scene where, sorry, spoiler, Dan Aykroyd shows up.
Okay.
And in a following scene, they're actually drinking Crystal Skull vodka, Dan Aykroyd's vodka, to give you an idea of the like glad handing that's going on. I have heard that Aykroyd might have a cameo in the movie. The only thing that could possibly ruin this is like cute little nods. Like I'd be cool with seeing.
Oh no, they're gonna do that.
That needs to be a very small.
You don't think they're gonna bring up a Twinkie?
Okay, maybe.
Or like
I don't know.
someone's gonna
That
say,
just needs to not take over the entire thing.
Or they're gonna be like, "Don't look at the trap."
Here's the only
looked at the trap.
The only reference I can stand is if Winston Zeddemore is the mayor of New York City. because that would be fantastic.
He's the mayor of New York City. And then I think they need to say something like, if someone asks if you're a god, you say yes.
No, they can't quote.
No, they can't.
They can't. They can't do it.
They can't. Oh,
do you think there's a chance that Bill Murray's in it? Do you think there's any chance? You think he is?
I think,
because years and years he said he would never do it.
But he's also like worn the outfit in public in the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think he's turned his back on it.
That's true.
I don't think he's upset.
No. And he loves to be loved.
And he loves to be loved, and he is the most loved person arguably in the world in terms of celebrities. I think I would not be surprised if he shows up.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm excited. I'm sorry, haters. When's it coming out?
Oh my god,
next
I'm
year?
so excited. I don't know when it's coming out.
I think it's
I feel
maybe
like
fall
these things
or
pop
next
up
year.
real quick. You know?
Yeah, well, it doesn't. I mean, yeah, it's not like Avengers where they spend a year doing post production.
Right.
Like
I'm excited.
It's gonna be good.
I'm excited.
Is there gonna be a ghost oral sex scene? Do you think?
Oh, there is one.
You got to do like the flip. That I'd be fine with too.
Yeah, I think you got to. I think you got to. If you're really honoring the past,
sure,
you got to bring that supernatural sex scene into the future.
Right.
I don't see why not.
Ghost dudes got to give it up too.
It just looks like they have that campiness.
I think it'll be good. I'm very encouraged.
I'm not worried.
No, I'm okay.
Now, I guess the big thing for me, and we could leave it at this if you want to move on. For me, the thing they have to do is get the ghosts right.
Yeah, they need to look kind of shitty.
They have to look kind of shitty.
Yeah, you can't throw a movie magic at it, and because there's no way to do a Ghostbuster style ghost and have it look good.
Right, like there's got to be like torn rags.
Right.
Like there's got to be like maybe someone's ribcage exposed.
Does Slimer have to be in it? I don't know, man.
And I guess that's
he does love pizza.
He does. He just loves to eat and stuff and have it go right through him. I feel like there's a lot there's still a lot that we don't know. Like, does this take place in the same universe? Because it's the same logo.
Right.
So like that.
Is it the same firehouse? Have they shown the firehouse? I don't know. Still exists in New York City. You can visit it. I might get married there.
Really?
No, but I would love to. I suggested it, and Alex was like, yes. She would totally be down.
Oh, wait, no, it's a real firehouse. You can't go there. That's so great. All right, one more break. When we come back, continue the saga of Russell's color blindness.
Oh, boy.
But not really. You'll see what we mean. Don't worry. Stay tuned. More 404 right after this.
Jeff, you know how I work from home, and sometimes I, prep the show, dropping links and stuff in there. And I want to tell you about these awesome links that I found, but I cannot ever find you. You won't respond to texts or emails. I feel like you're avoiding me. If only there was a way that you would just be in a digital world that I could just reach you at all times.
Well, guess what?
What? Oh, I can't even guess.
There is a way.
Oh my God.
There is a way, and its name is HipChat. HipChat is the game-changing team communication app that helps all teams work together more effectively and productively.
That's what I like to hear.
HipChat gets you the information you need faster than email and reduces those meaningless face-to-face meetings.
Yeah, those are the
we
worst.
Should just do our show through HipChat.
Yep, agreed.
That would be a way more efficient means of doing it. You'll make decisions and get work done faster with group chat, video chat, and file sharing. HipChat keeps teams connected. It's a great solution for remote work as well, as Russ alluded to. Lets you bring the office with you wherever you go. Best of all, HipChat is easy to use and gets everyone working in real time. None of that fake time, real time. Great teams get more done with HipChat. And right now, we're offering our listeners 90 days, that's 3 months of free HipChat Plus. All right, that's the premium service for free 3 months. Get premium features like unlimited file storage, unlimited message history, and guaranteed support. Get your team started right now using HipChat Plus today. Go to hipchat.com/the404show. That's hipchat.com/the404show. Go do it right now. Hey, welcome back to the program. Love that Ghostbusters chat.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Go to the subreddit, reddit.com/r/the404. Okay, there's a bunch we wanted to discuss about you specifically.
Yes.
You just like You came
I
on
like
the show and
just
you
conquering it.
just brought all your problems.
I'm gonna kick you off.
Yeah.
And it'll just be me complaining.
Just
for an
like,
hour.
oh, and now my elbow hurts, and I don't know where
My elbow does hurt.
does it really? Okay, so quick, I want to talk about you and how you bought an Amiibo.
Oh yeah. Do you know?
Real
Okay.
quick.
So real quick, Amiibos. You may or may not know, Nintendo started producing these little like 3-inch tall action figure looking guys from all their characters. And for the last 2 years, I've been like, who needs this thing? It's like a hunk of plastic, sits on your desk. I don't care.
And they barely do anything.
And they barely do anything. Like, people are not buying them for the interactivity they have with your Wii U. They just like
toys.
the characters,
Yeah.
and they want to have them out.
Wait, is there evidence of that?
I've spoken to a lot of people, like people that are obsessed with the toys. And I'm like, why do you buy it? Is it because you like using the Wii U stuff? And they're like, absolutely not. I've never once used it. It's just people that want these toys. They are well-made toys.
Are they?
Yeah. I mean, for what they're not, whatever, 12-inch tall Marty McFlys with individual zippers and shit. But that's why I wanted to bring this up.
Okay.
So I've been like rolling my eyes at these things for a while. I was at E3, the big gaming show, and I saw in a glass case a Yoshi made out of yarn. It's a yarn, handmade looking little Yoshi. It's absolutely adorable. Google it if you want to check it out. Just Google like yarn Yoshi. You'll see it instantly.
Because of the game that's coming out.
Because of the game that's coming out where he's made of yarn. And I was like, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen. I just want that for my desk. And this is, I make fun of you all the time for your action figures. You're like Joker with the mirror and like Marty McFly, all that stuff. This is where that kicks in for me. It's like weird, cute things from my childhood that I just want on my desk.
There you go. So same exact thing, dude.
But yours are all like emo. It's like the Joker's looking into a mirror and thinking about the time he paralyzed Oracle.
No,
they're all so serious, and mine are just like, oh, here's a cute like Jigglypuff.
Here's a cute Jigglypuff. All right, so you bought it.
I bought it. It hasn't actually arrived yet. It's coming.
Is it on pre-order?
So it's not for sale in the U.S. I actually ordered an import from Europe.
Did you pay a little premium for that?
I mean, it'll probably go on sale in the U.S. for $20. I paid $30 for which really isn't that bad.
Is it soft or is it just like a soft covering?
Soft. No, it's I don't know. I've actually held it, but the outside is cloth. It's not like plastic.
I gotta get my hands on one.
It's
of those.
Adorable.
Maybe I feel like Nintendo's gonna send one with the game when it comes out.
They probably will. There is actually going to be a bundle with it, but who knows? These Amiibos sell out like
they're so
wildfire.
insanely popular. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Last week we talked about color blindness.
Yeah, I'm
and
colorblind.
we had this huge revelation.
I couldn't help but notice that no one sent me $400 colorblind glasses last week.
Yeah, that was a noticeable omission during the week.
Big mistake, listeners. Let's see if we can remedy that this week.
Okay,
send me expensive glasses.
So I guess now what prompted this?
I don't know. I spent a lot of time on Reddit's Explain Like I'm Five subreddit because I really dig it and I think it's interesting. And someone had posted the simple question, what do blind people see? And I think in my default brain, I'm like, oh, they see black. They see just like black.
Right.
And I feel like the default for people that can see, that's what they would imagine blind people see is just darkness.
Right.
Like turning off the lights.
Which is just so...
it's weird,
and
right?
endlessly sad, too.
It is endlessly sad. So the post went up and a blind person, presumably a blind person...
With a sense of humor.
With a sense of humor, posted first, blind person here responding, and wrote a bunch of gibberish, which is funny.
Which is amazing.
And then responded below that with an online link to another site called nautilil.us, an article, Nautilus. And basically, here's the quote from the article. It says, to try to understand what might be like to be blind, think about how it looks behind your head.
Oh my God.
Think about that. What you see behind your head. And what they say is do this experiment where you hold your hands out to the sides of your head and then push them back until you can't see them anymore. And what color are your hands then when you can't see them anymore?
What? That's
what
cool.
blind people see.
That is not cool at all.
It kind of melts your brain, right?
Yeah.
And I had never really thought of it that way, but that is kind of a perfect example where you just can't comprehend. Presumably it's different for people that had sight and lost it, but you just can't comprehend what that is. It's just like nothing.
It's out of your view.
Right.
But
So instead you're comprehending sound and Daredevil stuff.
Right. So it's not so much that it's black.
No.
Because you probably do see stuff. Right.
Right. Right. It's not black.
It's not black. It's just like
you don't see it anymore.
It's just like meh.
Right.
It's just goosh.
And that seems like a good, I don't know. I thought that was a really good way to explain how blind people see.
That is so, I mean, if you're born
mind.
with it, that's one thing.
Sure. It might be different for people that have seen and can't anymore, because obviously it's usually gradual where you lose vision.
Yeah. We used to have a blind listener chime in a bunch.
Yeah.
It was very insightful in a way that seemed superhuman almost.
Yeah.
Like he was so grounded with it and was like, that for me is my biggest, is like where my heart really like yearns for them, where it's like people who are not only blind, but they're making it work, and they're like
sure.
very optimistic. Not that they shouldn't be.
Sure.
I'm saying like they're just so functional. And
well,
like,
there is something about the human condition that's just like, obviously it's a lot easier if you were born with it because that's all you've known. So like there's no alternative. But for people that lose sight, like a lot of people say like it's really obviously very tough at the beginning. But the way humans think about things, like you sort of eventually go back to your baseline of like what you are as a person.
right.
Whether you're an optimistic person, downtrodden person, what have you. And so people eventually just normalize and they develop, you have to live your life and deal with it.
They persevere.
And it's very impressive, but that sort of gave me a little bit of a kind of a cool insight into something that I've never really understood.
Definitely interesting.
So thank you for explaining like I'm 5.
And there's been some unbelievable advancements in that realm as well.
There's been some like crazy, like obviously like cochlear implants are equivalent to that. And some eye, like there's like a cyber eye where like you see like digital pixels.
Yeah, someone was able to do like a very low res reproduction of what people see and connect it to someone's brain.
It's like a Google Glass that you wear, and then it like translates.
Amazing.
And you can see a screenshot of what they're seeing, which is even cooler
because you see the feed.
Yeah, and it looks like almost like a black and white version of what the Terminator sees.
Right, yeah, like
not
Predator.
with the readouts, but just like a very low resolution, pixelated, but like enough that you can make stuff out.
I mean, wait 20 years.
Oh,
right?
it'll be outrageous.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Okay, before we hit the Reddit portion of the show, I guess maybe we should have used the Pixels discussion to parlay into this.
Yeah, that would have been a good
segue. That would have been a good segue, but that's not how we play things here on this program. We jump all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm not at the point yet. Obviously, my son is only 3 months old.
Sure.
He's probably about 14 weeks old now. But I have noticed that he is already looking at the TV.
Oh, 100%.
Like he just sees it. He doesn't realize, obviously he can't comprehend what the hell it is.
Maybe you can. I saw that movie. He was talking a lot about the things he saw.
He did, right?
Right? Bruce Willis.
Exactly. I don't know. He's drawn to it because it's a bright, colorful thing.
Sure,
in the
it's
room,
moving.
And it's moving.
Yeah.
And now it's more entertaining than the ceiling fan, which was like his big thing for the first.
Pretty awesome, that ceiling fan.
It's a pretty dope fan. So he's looking at. So and it got me thinking like, oh man, we're gonna. Obviously this was not something I was not thinking about for a while, leading up to me becoming a father, but like. Yeah, he's gonna play games.
Yep.
in maybe a couple of years, right?
Yeah, sure.
And that's a huge deal. So, how do I approach this? And I guess the biggest thing is, will he think? I show him the original Mario Brothers.
Sure.
Is he gonna be like, Dad?
This is garbage.
What am I looking at here?
Yeah.
Now we had a big conversation about this yesterday on the Beastcast. We were talking about like. Your nostalgia from your childhood,
sure.
You have an inflated sense of it being way better than it maybe was.
Yes.
But maybe that doesn't translate to movies as much because there's movies from the 60s and 70s that hold up and are just as good as they did. Games are a different thing because they rely heavily on technology.
They do.
And, there's...
And advancements in design and stuff like that.
Right.
Sure.
It's a nascent category. Where's it gonna be? Is he just gonna look at these games and be like, "Wow, Dad, this is truly pathetic"?
I would have said. I think probably 5 or 6 years ago, I would have said yes. definitely. But each day, I'm seeing more games that have like very lo-fi look, pixelated, like retro-inspired games.
Right, but they're using that aesthetic to talk to us.
Sure.
Right?
But I think if you grow up and a lot of the like games around on the mobile app store or whatever are those games, that's sort of like your inroad to that.
Right. Like it'll basically be like if a band comes out that like when Amy Winehouse was hitting the scene, her style was a style born out of 50 years prior.
Yes.
So, it maybe there was a sort of double-headed connection where you had people of an older generation saying like, oh man, that sounds like like the doo-wop sort of era. And then the newcomers being like, oh my God, this woman has an amazing, soulful, old, sort of voice. I think you're right. I think there will be sort of like a stereo-minded approach to that.
But that's only with the graphics. Now, the issue is with gameplay, gameplay evolves and gets better.
Right.
So while a game like Mario, I think, is somewhat timeless, a game like Ghosts and Goblins, I think if you handed that to a kid today, if anyone's ever played it, it's an arcade game. You're a knight, you run to the side, but the controls are like very stilted. Mega Man, that style game, very difficult and very like stiff. And I don't think those games will work for this younger generation because they're used to like this smooth, like accurate controls. And I think that's
frustrating.
It'll be. So I think the number of games that will cross over, I think a game like Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario World is somewhat timeless. Like I think it's an amazing game and doesn't feel unfair and is incredibly well designed.
Which probably is what makes them so good.
Right. A lot of the Zelda games kind of feel timeless too. But, it's going to be very selective. And just like all art forms, the second that 10 years has passed, a very limited number of those movies that you loved will actually stand the test of time. I love the first Batman. I don't think it's aged that well.
You don't think the 1989 Batman has aged too well?
I think the second one has aged better. I think the first one is really pretty rough.
Yeah, the fight scenes in that movie are
There's a lot of
pretty bad.
Weirdness to it.
When was the last time you watched it?
Like 4 or 5 years ago.
It was not doing that well.
No, it was not. Yeah,
I see bits and pieces of it. There's a lot of like miniatures in it too, so that kind of takes you out.
Or
of
like look at Lord of the Rings. 10 years from now,
God.
Lord of the Rings, even now.
No, Lord of the Rings looks like shit now.
Looks like garbage, and that's what I'm saying. Is like it looked amazing. It was the top of the line.
See, I maintain that I pointed my finger at the movie theater screen and said, this is not that good looking.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Also, there's going to be a black president in 1 year.
No. I didn't say
What else did you predict?
I didn't say it at Jurassic Park, but I also said it during the first Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The first Spider-Man.
Well, Jurassic Park holds up.
It still holds up.
Because it's this brilliant mix of CG and puppets.
Right.
That really
But even the Velociraptor, even the Stampede scene looks good.
It looks good.
There's magic there. The scenes where he is running along the rooftops in Spider-Man 1, it looks like a cartoon.
I think a lot of that comes from the green screen revolution of movie making, which was just like everything, like the Sky Captain and World of Tomorrow, like introduced this method of just making the entire movie on green screen. Jurassic Park wasn't made mostly on green screen. It was shot in Hawaii. So there is a level of groundedness to it. And obviously Lord of the Rings was shot in wherever that magical land is, New Zealand.
The magical land of New Zealand.
But, also kind of like maybe a little too ambitious with the number of people and what they were trying to do. And it just does not age super well.
Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of amazing filmmaking done in that trilogy.
But the CG does not age
The
well.
CG in Return of the King, specifically when Legolas takes down that like gigantic elephant-looking thing.
Yeah. An Oliphant.
Man, that is not...
Yeah, it's bad.
He looks like this prancing...
Yeah, he looks like the bendy fight from Matrix 2.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. Burly. The Burly fight.
The Smith fight?
Yeah. Looks like a joke. It's like a comic joke.
but it looked bad when you saw it.
Yeah, it looked, and it did. It looked bad.
And
when
that's
you saw
what I'm
it.
saying. Like, that was noticeably bad when we got to see it, because I think people were chewing off a little bit more than they could.
Too ambitious.
I think there's like, you're gonna look back and there's gonna be this like cinematic blunder era where it's like 2001 to like '06.
Yep.
Where like any high budget CG movie that came out during that time looked shitty then, and man, does it look shitty now.
Yeah. And we're gonna toss as
You're
much
with
CG
me
as we
on
get.
that.
Totally.
So you're with me.
And
so I'm not crazy.
And the flip side of that is Star Wars, which is obviously, they have made it very clear that like the focus is going to be on like traditional effects and puppets, and that's going to make it the new Star Wars is going to be better, I think. I
do too. As much as I love to make fun of J.J. Abrams, I do think he does that stuff kind of well.
Yeah.
Man, I'm trying. There's totally like a dozen more of those films in that era that just probably look so stupid.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of them. If you can remember, send it over to us. Finally, we'll take maybe just one from the subreddit today. And everyone's very happy that you've joined the show, by the way.
Shucks. I actually popped into the subreddit, so if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. But people have been very kind.
Yes, they have been.
Thank you for that.
So one of the comments this week was about Rocket League, which we touched on, anecdotally in the show today. It's free if you have PlayStation Plus on PS4. It's on Steam. Go play it. For me, it's the best online multiplayer game I've played in a very long time. Free on it's soccer.
It's like soccer
car
with
racing.
cars. Yeah.
It's
phenomenal. It is tremendous. And if you don't really want to play the game but you want to experience it for yourself, Google Rocket League GIFs, because there's tons of amazing like saves and plays that people have captured, and it's just like, even before I started playing the game, I was like in awe of people like being really good at this game.
The game remarkably captures like the chaoticness and frenetic action in soccer, and even stuff like hockey, where it's just like deflections and crazy saves, and it's just
people chasing it all around. It's
so much fun.
It is really a lot of fun.
Obi-Wan Shinobi says, "Are you guys watching Mr. Robot? And what do you think?" So here's the deal. We have talked about it. I think maybe before you started.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I have not watched it yet, but I've heard very, very, very good things.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So I enjoyed. I saw the pilot. I'm actually working on getting the creator of that show into the office and to talk with him a little bit. So here's the deal. I really do like it, and I'm going to continue watching it. And I thought the 4th episode was really good. There was a few in between that I was sort of like, all right, what's going on? There seems, for me right now, there is this one potential plot point that I feel like they're not hiding very well, that I've figured out.
Okay, sure.
And I can't tell if they're like, if they want me to figure this out,
and they're gonna like pull a left turn,
and then they're gonna twist it, or they're just doing a terrible job.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm not sure where that's at right now. There's an episode 2 nights ago that I got to catch up on.
Okay.
Either way, it's a great pilot.
Yeah.
The pilot's gonna suck you in. Watch the show.
Okay.
It's very it's shot like a Fight Club sort of.
Sure.
This guy has this like angsty sort of feeling about the internet and the world, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and it's totally out of USA Network's wheelhouse too, which is like arguably the best part about it, because it's just like previously on Blue Bloods or whatever the hell they have on that network, and then they're like, drugs and hackers and
it's like more FX.
Yeah, totally.
I did notice. I was looking at it on my guide, on my cable guide, and I did notice the episode titles are actually
file names,
which I really liked.
It's pretty great.
Good touch.
Pretty great stuff. There's a lot of like hidden little Easter eggs in there. It's a lot of fun. If you're even in the least bit interested in the underworld of hacking and computer espionage, watch this program. It's shot very well as well, and the performances are pretty good. All right. There you have it.
Cool.
Another one in the books. 866-404-CNET is the number. I think there was a block on the voicemails. I fixed that. Of course, write us in the 404 at cnet.com. Or if you want instant feedback that is almost guaranteed to be touched upon on the next episode of the program, go to reddit.com/r/the404. That will do it for us. Have a fantastic weekend back here on the last day of July.
Oh my God.
I believe this summer is more than halfway over.
It's terrifying.
It's awesome.
It is crazy.
Bring winter.
Bring it on.
Bring it.
I do want to mention, just a reminder for folks, if you haven't subscribed to the show and you like getting the show automatically, definitely do that. It's super easy and you won't need to watch for our tweets or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And also super important for the people that listen every week and really, really love the show, give us a rating on iTunes. It really helps our ranking on iTunes and it shows that you love us and we appreciate that.
And we cash those rankings in for unicorn farts.
Yes.
This is a high currency here on the internet.
Yeah, it's very valuable.
And then go to producthunt.com.
Yes, please do see cool games. We did an AMA with the creators of Journey this week. So if you want to check that out, definitely do that.
Excellent. Follow us on Twitter, and we will be back next week with a brand new show. Until then, I'm Jeff Bakalar.
I'm Russ Frushtick.
This has been the 404 show. High-tech, lowbrow, dosey pixels. Right? We'll see you next time.